Scarberian Catru. This is episode 2 of Scarberian Catru, and my guest is none other than Scott Matthews, or Eddie, as we used to call him back in the day.
I've got some people calling me Eddie at work, which is good.
How did that happen?
Oh
my God! You know what it was? Edgar Winter. That's what it was.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've got some people at work calling me Eddie because there are more Scots now than there have ever been. It used to be everyone was Dave. There was a Dave's, and Chris's. Now there's Scots everywhere.
Yeah. Well, if you were born 20 a few years later, when
and there's Craigs. There's three Craigs in my theater. 3 Craigs and 3 Scots.
Well, that's just
never saw that before. And so the guy who I'm working with directly, the guy who replaced me as head of sound, is Craig G. His last name is Craig G. The head carpenter is also Craig G. So now everyone walks around and calls each other by their last name, and I just say, well, you can just call me Eddie.
Eddie, nice.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. I don't know why. I thought of that just as I was doing the little intro. I just thought of that, and I completely. Some of these things are so gone from my memory banks. You know, but let's talk about. I thought a relevant thing would be to talk about our humble beginnings, and the thing that always comes to mind is walking down the street when I was 6. I was 6 because it was my 6th birthday, and I'm certain of it. I could be wrong. You tell me. But I took my mom's Suzuki 6-string guitar down to your place, and we had a jam.
In the breezeway
with your brother.
Yes.
And I remember your brother singing Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
I remember your mom saying it sounded horrible. And we just basically strummed open strings, and I don't think anybody really formulated a proper chord. It was wild. So we were very ambitious and got a very early start. I mean, that's amazing. I wish I could say that we played well. What's that?
There were guitars at my place because my dad had the guitars.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, my God. So I probably have some questions for you too that of things that I can't remember. So maybe you can. And I know that we remember some things differently, but we hung out. We played as kids, just like Spinal Tap, Nigel Toffler, and David St. Hubbins, and all the other legendary people. We did that.
Yeah.
And you started playing this all happened so quickly because. How did you get your electric bass first? Because your dad had the 12-string and the 6-string, and he used to play in the kitchen.
He played 12-string, 6-string,
banjo.
And banjo. Yeah. That's right. Did all the Chet Atkins and Lou Reed kind of stuff.
I know he did.
Gordon Lightfoot, all that stuff. He was really very good at it.
Yeah.
But I started on drums, and then...
yes, exactly.
Right? Like doing drum concerts when I was in grade 3, things like that. Right. Yeah. It was great. I loved it because I could get out of class to go and do rehearsals with the grade 5s in the gym because I was in grade 3 and I got to go set up my drum kit and then do the rehearsals with them and then pack my drum kit away. And it was a lot of fun.
Did you take lessons on drums, or did you just get the drums and just start playing them?
I took a little bit of...
Did you really? Where?
Nephew Music, geez. Where you worked, right?
Yeah, but I didn't work there until I was 15. So you had moved by then, and then I worked when I was in grade 10, right after I think you had moved away. So when you moved away in 1980 or whatever it was, things changed very quickly for me. I played with some new buddies, and maybe it was Paul Mather, and I played. And I got a job for the year working at Nephew Music, and that was kind of cool. And it's also cool because I took my paychecks and I just bought stuff. So the first time I
Of
got paid at
course.
Nevue Music, I just handed him over the check and took a pedal steel guitar out of the place. I mean, that was freaking amazing. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I'm 15. I
Yeah.
got a pedal steel at home. So and then a mandolin after that, and then after that it was something else. And
So bass for me was
but yeah, so but anyway, you were doing drums,
yeah, I was doing drum.
and but you never played in a band. You just played and you took a few lessons. And then how'd you get the bass?
Um Brent Ruddy. Brad Ruddy's older brother had played bass,
Right, of course.
right? And I
Yeah.
spent all my time, like after school, during school, whatever, hanging out at Brad's place, and picked up Brent's bass and just started messing with it. And way back when, he had little 9-volt headphones. He didn't have an amp there, but he had because he had I think he had a fridge. I think he had like an Ampeg fridge down at Cherry Beach or whatever. He was quite a bit older than I was. So this was what,
Yeah.
13 or 14 or something like that.
Okay, and I would have been 2 years younger than you, so I would have really been young.
Yeah,
I would have
yeah,
been,
yeah. So
yeah.
I said, "Hey, can I borrow your bass for a while?" And I borrowed it for about a month, and then I was hooked. That was it.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah, and then I went to Nevue Music and got
Get the Vibra,
A
the
Vibra.
Vibra. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like a cross between a P bass and
So
a
how long
yeah,
did you have the bass before we started playing together?
6 months,
Right. So it all happened pretty quickly.
very quickly.
Your brother and I never played in a band together. We moved the my amp around and the guitars around, and then we didn't really even jam. We just kind of fired up the amps and made a bit
Made
of
noise.
sound, made a
Yeah,
little bit. I mean, I could play then. I mean, I would be playing, whatever Rush and Zeppelin riffs, which I could certainly do.
yeah.
But we didn't really do much. You and
No,
I,
Johnny Be Good. I think it was
well,
or
yeah,
Purple Haze or something like that, right?
for sure,
Yeah,
because of Frank Marino's version of
yeah,
Johnny Be Good. So we started
yeah.
jamming with Doug Hall, and I don't remember. See, I don't remember where the first jam was. I would think it must have been your place, but
Probably. Yeah.
and Doug would have moved the drums over, and then we would have jammed, and then your mom got fed up with the music, probably, and we
And then
went
we
to
went over to
Doug's,
Doug's place
and
and
we
we
went to
went to
my
your
place for a
place and
bit.
then we went
Yeah,
back to my
moved
place.
around, right?
Yeah.
And that lasted for a few years, and then we did a few gigs in the high schools, and we opened for Teenage Head, and we played.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of were
That was
very.
Lamoureux, right? Teenage.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lamoureux, yeah. But I thought it's worth mentioning too that I don't know. Maybe I was more enamored with Morgan Evans' band than you were.
Oh
But
no, I was.
were you really?
Oh
Because
yeah.
I just thought these
Oh,
guys.
I thought they were the coolest guys in the freaking world, man.
Yeah, because we just I was so short, and I was so young, much younger than everybody, and my hair was just kind of like a steel wool, and these guys looked like they could be in Cheap Trick,
Oh
you
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
and
Totally. Oh, what was the Brad?
and
The
they had
bass
Les
player?
Pauls and Marshalls, and I had
Yeah.
a trainer and a Tele copy.
Yeah, they had stacks, right? They
Yeah.
actually had stacks.
Well, if they didn't
Yeah.
have stacks in their basement, they certainly probably rented
Or
them.
I think the guitar player had a 410 or 412 Marshall, and I can't remember what Brad had. No, Brad ended up being Brat X.
Yeah, well, he went on to be kind of a bit of a punk guy, and he
Yeah, for
died. He
sure.
died very.
Yeah,
John
he died.
Escapa was the guitar player's name,
Yeah, that's right.
and I thought they all. I thought they were. I thought we went down and we watched them in rehearsal when we were super young, and
Oh
they
yeah,
put on a
loved
big
it.
rock show with the lights and everything. It was great.
Oh
What a
yeah.
great time.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. That was kind of a very.
I mean, I think that was probably the first time I heard War Pigs.
I don't remember War Pigs. I remember they did La Villa Strangiato. I
Yeah,
remember.
they did.
I remember they. I remember. I think they did Cheap Trick.
They did do Cheap Trick. They did Cheap Trick very well, actually.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything else. Oh, and they did like Van Halen. I want you to want me,
Yeah,
or I mean,
you really got
you
me,
really got me.
which we
Yeah,
did as well.
yeah. We kind of copied some of their songs on the set
Yeah,
list. Fair enough. I mean, we had. I don't know. It was I don't know. It was good for us. I mean,
yeah.
and they were playing. They were. I remember Morgan was dropping his drums off at your place. He had borrowed something for a gig downtown, so they were already playing bars. But they were. Morgan is a lot older than me. I know
Yeah, he
he's
was 2 years older than me.
yeah, so he
So
was 4 years
Morgan and
old.
I
That's a
did a
long
drum
time then.
concert together.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was in grade 4 or something, and
Now,
We
who
did,
was the guy? Whose idea was it to put? This is for anybody listening out there. This is the greatest thing ever. Whose idea was it to put baby powder on the drum heads?
oh, probably Morgan.
Because as you're drumming, and then
Yeah.
there's some lights, and then this smoke starts going everywhere,
Oh
and
yeah,
there's
that
this
would be
baby
Morgan.
powder. That's like
Yeah.
the most ridiculous, cheesy thing, but it worked.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean,
very old school showbiz.
very resourceful, brilliant. Maybe he
Yeah.
got that idea from his dad. I don't know, but that
Or
was
maybe
amazing.
Buddy Rich did it or something. I don't
Maybe,
know.
buddy. You know what? We should look that up. So anyway, I thought it's worth mentioning. We were buddies, and I loved you and hanging around you because you were older, and I looked up to you, and I thought, this guy's cool, and we were so close because we were all like the R gang thing in the neighborhood. I mean, a little bit, right? For
Oh yeah.
for quite a few years,
Oh yeah.
really,
Yep.
and but then you moved away. But you're also older, and what you were doing before I could, because of your age, is you had met up with guys in the bar scene, and you started playing clubs. But you also started. I mean, there's a little interim period where you played with a couple of bands that really weren't very good, kind of like in terms of.
Yeah.
You were doing covers, but you weren't
Doing cover
really
stuff.
you
Yeah.
weren't doing like meaningful original
No,
stuff. That
that,
happened with Glamatron, and that
that
was
happened
only
with Glamatron,
and
and
that
it
was
happened.
only
There were a couple of songwriters I kind of hooked up with before Glamatron, but it didn't go anywhere because we couldn't find a drummer, and I don't know, it just didn't feel right. And then
But you know what you learn as you do this? You learn that a lot of people are forming bands and trying projects that don't necessarily work, and that's part of the process until you
yes, it
find
is.
something that does work. So
Yeah.
so that's part of the original music scene, is that things don't really work, and then you got
Yeah.
to move on and find something. Which I think, for those of you who don't know, Glamatron was an independent band in Toronto in the early 80s that put out an EP and got some attention, but the band itself didn't turn into a band on the scene that had a huge following like
No,
some
no,
bands.
not
Like
at all.
you would not say that hey, we used to pack the so and so. Even the bands that I played in, in my early 20s, and they were original, we ended up playing sizable clubs that drew a crowd, so that we could put people in the Opera House or the back then the Diamond Club or the Rock and Roll Heaven and Gasworks. So, we did that, and but Glamatron wasn't really there yet. But you certainly, after that, you, I think, had learned about studios and how to do it. So you made your independent record of Boats and Rivers, which I still think that stands up as quite a important
No, thanks.
kind of an important record on the Toronto music scene for that
Mm.
time, because of all these. You checked off all the boxes. You
Well,
financed it yourself. You
yeah.
produced it yourself. You recorded it. You put it out. It got airplay and nominated for a Uno, which has now became a Casby, and you sold like some ridiculous amount of records, like 5,000
Plus
copies or
5,000. Yeah.
something. And you did
Yeah.
it. You did it at a time when people were just really starting to do independent releases, when it became very common to do that. You were early on. I mean, and then there's other people like the Bare Naked Ladies that did the same thing, just with greater success, but
Yeah.
essentially the same
Yeah.
idea.
And
Self-financed.
because
You
there was
know,
a lot of that. That's right. That was early 80s. So 80 to 80. Well, Boats Rivers came out in 83. So I would
yeah.
have been writing, recording it when I was 19
Mm.
in 82. But there was a real appetite for local bands putting out recordings, whether it was 7-inch singles, and then of course by 83, 12-inch singles and EPs were becoming more affordable for artists to finance themselves and do it themselves. So there was that whole sort of recording scene that was happening, the independent recording scene, which every sort of local Canadian music magazine and fanzine talked about. And then there was, of course, the live scene. And the live scene and the recording scene weren't necessarily the same thing. Like there were people that put out records and didn't play a whole lot, and vice versa. There were people that played a whole lot but never put out any records. And I think it was just that at that time, you had to sort of had to decide which one you were going to do. Were you going to pursue the performing part of it, or were you going to pursue the making records part of it? And I sort of went more at pursuing making records as opposed to playing live. Also, I was solo, right? So I had left Glamatron, and Glamatron was probably the closest band I would ever be in that shared what I saw as the kind of music I wanted to make. And it still wasn't quite exactly what I wanted. So I realized I'm just going to have to do this myself. So the
Yeah.
whole album, I went off and rented a Poly 6 and a drum machine at Long and McQuaid for whatever. And that's how I did that album. Was just, a rented drum machine, a rented Poly 6, my bass. And then when we did it, I hired a Lindrum for the day. But
Well, I think you're 100% right in describing that era because that's exactly what people were doing. And I would add that people like you and I was much more going into a touring with a rock band
you were in the
thing.
performance part of it. Yeah.
Well, I
Now,
was always yeah, no, actually, you know what? That's kind of true because really at that time I was not writing original music. I
except when you were
was
in the rain.
right, but see, I was always being I was kind of plagued me for a number of years because you see, I was always considered an arranger. So with all those people that I played with, I was always working with songwriters. So in the rain, we had the main guy who was like the songwriter and don't
Right.
write because he's a genius and you're just a guitar player.
You,
And then if you work with somebody with a record deal, it's like, oh no, we have the songwriters. You got to come in and play in the studio. And that was still a great thing to be considered a guitar player. All the time, uh, I was writing and recording stuff, uh,
oh yeah.
but
You were doing it
I
when you were just a little tyke.
I
Stepped on
was. I was. Yeah,
decks and so on.
I
Yeah.
was. But my recording proficiency and all that what interest in that really got reignited when I bought your. I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but when I bought your
The Fostex.
8-track Fostex in 1992,
Yeah.
then I started really getting back into the home recording. Whereas I was really kind of happy with the fact that out of high school, I did do some 4-track demos that I and some stuff at Sounds Interchange that I played for bands that enabled me to pass auditions. But I wasn't. I was busy playing in bands. I was busy touring Canada, playing in clubs, and and then for a couple of years, and then I quickly in the 80s, I looked at some original bands right after that. So I would have been like 22, and then I would have been done
Yeah.
with playing covers, and then I started playing with original bands. So that was kind of my thing. But what was I gonna? The point I was gonna make before I went on that tangent was you were describing it very well because oh, I know what I was going to say. You guys like you and me were kind of would frown upon the idea that in order to be a musician, we're supposed to get in a band and play like we all would always say Springsteen tunes in a pub. We didn't want to do that. We didn't really.
Oh yeah.
Now
We were pretty snooty against
yeah,
that.
like we didn't really we didn't see our musical life as working
No,
in
because
that.
we wanted to be rock stars.
Yeah, basically, right? I mean,
Right?
it's
Like
kind of
we
there's not
wanted to
really no
record
other way to say
albums
it.
and
Yeah.
we wanted to be like our heroes, right?
Yeah, and even when I got hired to do sessions, I still thought this is great, but it's not really what I want. I don't want to be that guy on the stage there who's backing up the singer. I mean, my tune has changed slightly on that now, but really, it all led to what we're doing now. So that's why I'm happy that I stuck that out from my end. Now, in your business there, you followed it up with another what do you call them, 12-inch? You call it an EP?
Yeah, 12-inch
Yeah.
EPs, yeah.
And that was still very interesting, roll boys. And of course, what I thought was most interesting was the B-side. But I didn't really get the A-side, only because it was,
Well, yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, you kind of delved into,
It was
a
kind of
white man's rap, which
yeah.
is probably pretty freaking innovative at the time. It's not that
It was kind of like a Talking Heads
I know,
Flash in the
right?
Pan kind of thing.
Yeah, I know.
I was trying to get away from the Japan-y stuff and trying to get more into more rhythmic types of things, you know. And what I would listen, it's just one type of Brian Eno for another type of Brian Eno, right?
That's you're all just trying to be
It's
Brian
all just
Eno with
Brian Eno.
you and your emulator.
Yeah.
Now you were we had started at that time, which I thought was great. You know, you were living in the annex there, and no, what do they call that
Yeah.
area? The
Yeah.
annex, yeah.
Yeah.
And we started recording again, and we started doing our ECM trip. You know,
That's right. That was great
which
fun. Yeah.
yeah, it was great fun. I think it could have, we could have been better at it, but
Yeah.
or maybe more genuine, right? I think we were trying to be,
Well, we were imitating,
yeah, we were imitating.
right?
But you had your thing, and I think you let it ride and play itself out, and you ended up playing with Paul Myers,
Paul Myers. Yeah.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
And Mike Myers' brother,
Yeah.
Paul Myers band, and which
Who's now got his own record store podcast.
I'll have to
Paul
listen to
does.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah,
It's really
right.
good. Yeah.
I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and he was a talented songwriter. I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
know that he still is. And you enjoyed the idea of just playing bass.
Oh yeah. Loved it.
Uh,
Loved
um,
it.
and uh, basically around that time, we had a lofty idea to form a band, which became Trouble in Mind. And
And we got back together. Yeah. Oh, do
yeah,
you mean, oh, you and I have been playing off and on together, doing whatever it is in whatever kind of format since then, since we
yeah,
were, you know?
yeah. I mean, there was some breaks there, but really, what Trouble in Mind, again, it's getting so long ago now that as
Oh
some
yeah.
people still remember that
35
band
years ago.
and that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we played Heaven. We recorded various demos at the various studios, Trackmaster in Buffalo, and
That's what you did after I left.
yeah, and
The only
Sounds in
recording you and I did together was
was
the
Metalworks.
2 track at Metalworks.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a really great
That was great.
weird
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that we did. And we after you left, we carried on, and we played for a couple of years on the Toronto scene, and we had a great time doing it. But it kind of ran its course, and we signed a publishing deal with EMI Canada, and the things that we thought we were going to materialize didn't.
Yeah.
And also, that era was I don't know, it got very things kind of turned to grunge, and things changed, and
Yeah, even though like things, I mean, for anyone that doesn't hasn't heard the band, it's kind of like a Red Hot Chili Peppers meets what? Soundgarden type of
well, I don't know. I
maybe
saw
the
it a little
Cult
bit
or
differently, just
something.
because I didn't think that anybody. You could have probably played the more funk thing better. Certainly, I didn't, and the drums didn't really. Although we did get some good drummers playing with us later. I would my interpretation was more like. Remember, we bantered around like we liked Living Color, and I liked the
Oh yeah.
distorted
Yeah.
modern guitar and the
Yeah.
Vernon Reid, Steve Vai
Oh yeah, for sure.
type thing
Yeah.
with the kind of bass and combining bluesy and prog styles, but in a bass drums guitar format, so that
Yeah,
to me it came.
and like a David Lee Roth kind of.
Yeah, I was very, very inspired by the
Yeah.
Steve Vai
Yeah.
version of a David Lee Roth band,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I saw it, with these overtones of the things that were kind of happening at the time. They're
Yeah.
ranging from Stevie Ray Vaughan to like I said, to Living Color. I mean,
Yeah.
which is an odd analogy. The thing is, I really admire Vernon Reid, but would not be the kind of person that I would maybe that would spring to mind in terms of influences. But certainly at the time,
At the time for sure.
it really was
Yeah.
kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
and because that really spoke to me, and maybe you too. I don't know how much of it, but that was, yeah. It's kind of, remember, that's kind of what we were putting in the ads even.
Yeah. Living Color. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But
Because
I mean,
they were very funky and very heavy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and modern, right? It was not,
Yeah.
even though there was even though there was references to early rock in what they did, it seemed to me like it was not a retro thing. And at that time, uh, a lot of the stuff we were younger, and a lot of stuff, I really love retro things. One of my favorite players is Brian Setzer. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan and Ry Cooder, but I didn't
Hmm.
see myself as excelling in those genres in any way, and I still don't. I mean, what am I going to do? Go play Texas blues somewhere or rockabilly? I mean, oh my God, that's a whole other vocabulary, and I know guys that do that incredibly well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do I like to do I like to visit it and then
Yeah.
kind of uh, uh, come back,
Yeah.
but uh, just because, wow, I mean, the guys like Brian Setzer and what they've invested in that is maybe what I've invested in, prog rock, I guess, right?
Well, at that time, the guy that I was really impressed with that was doing retro before retro was a term that everyone threw around was Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah,
First album came out, it was like, wow. You know,
that's
he's
true. That's
he
true.
everything he was using was he was sort of how would the Beatles record it? Then that's what he did, you
Yeah,
know?
and people didn't do that at the time. It seemed like
No,
things
they
things
really
were
didn't.
moving forward. They
No.
weren't people were not so much delving into the past
He
and
was so
doing
way ahead of his time
yeah,
by
yeah.
doing nothing other than the way the Beatles did it, you know?
Yeah, and he's a great singer. A lot of people don't give him. Well, I think they overlook.
I think they
His.
overlook a lot of things with Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I mean
He's
that's a
pretty
lot of hit
fantastic.
songs and a lot of really well written pop music and
Yeah,
whatever spin.
and hugely versatile as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, really, more like a rock version of Prince. In
Yeah,
terms of
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
playing the drums and
yeah.
guitar and everything. Yeah, so we went on from. I just want to. This is kind of interesting where I'm kind of going in chronological order, and
Yeah.
we can talk about what we're doing in a minute. But I thought that after the geez, I got immersed in the '90s with the whole Jeff Healey studio and Amanda Marshall and
Oh, yes,
and
that's right.
Mark
Yeah.
Holmes, and that sucked up most of my '90s. I think that for that time period, I don't think we did much, did we?
No,
Did we? And
no.
and then
In the 90s was when my family was young and I was
oh
and I
yeah,
was, working at Stratford,
but
right?
you were also playing professionally in
Oh
and
yeah, that's right.
around
Yeah.
because
Kind
that's
of
a
as
long
a
time ago,
kind
right?
of as a hired
Yeah,
gun. Yeah.
yeah, and you did that for quite a while,
Yeah.
and then I did all my touring with the PB band.
I did it I think I probably did
Yeah, probably about 10
from
years.
90 till probably 98. So probably 8 years of kind of hired gun. A lot of country music.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that you
That's
you
when
have
new
the
country
experience
was
of that.
big.
Yeah, that's
Was
that's incredible. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing you
it was a lot
survived
of
that.
fun. It's funny. I mean, I got my chops together in a totally different way,
Yeah,
like
but you know what? That's so freaking necessary, isn't it? Because at some point you have to do that. At some point you
you
have to
have
do
to.
some repetitive
Yeah.
thing to start getting the idea of where the beat is and just playing for the song and all these things that some people learn at a really young age, but some people, especially when you're stuck working on your own with drum machines and you're looking at it from an original
Yeah.
music, so you don't
Yeah.
you don't get that. You
No,
know?
you bring up a very good point. Um, when you're especially with country stuff, you country or blues, when you're get a call to do that kind of thing and you don't really know the music and you can't be glued to a chart either because you're performing. So you just have to listen to the vocal and you have to understand the form and if you're listening to the vocal or the guitar lines, even if you've never heard the song, you've got a pretty good idea of where it's going to go based on the form and what is predictable.
Yeah.
And you have to play with real conviction and real confidence because as the bass player, you got to know that if it's going to do a 6-2-1 kind of turnaround thing, you got to you got to be there. You can't wait, you can't hesitate. And it's sort of like here one verse, here one chorus, good, I know it. Okay, what's the bridge gonna do? Well, it's probably gonna go here. Just watch the guitar player, watch the keyboard player's left hand or whatever, that type
How
of.
far did you how far did you go? Did you play mostly around Ontario?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, I got a funny story. When I went and played a casino up in Sault Ste. Marie,
Oh, that's far.
yeah, for a week. And right before I left was when Callum was born. And so Callum was finally born. I go into the hotel room or hotel room, hospital room, and someone says, you got to get to the hospital. Get to the hospital. I get to the hospital. I meet Callum. Ellen's there. We have a drink of scotch in the hospital room. Gotta go. I missed the whole first week of him being born playing in a cover band at a casino.
Oh my
Now,
God.
interestingly, and then I came back and that sort of changed my priorities about things, right? I kind of hung up my base and said, okay, I need to focus on the theater at this point in time. I need to be around. Um, but Alison Krauss was in the next room. She
Oh,
was
really?
she was there for 3 dates. Yeah.
Wow. And
What were they called? Something station?
well, Union Station.
Union Station. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In the same casino in the next room.
All
And
right.
and then so they did 3 days when we were there. And then another very famous Grand Ole Opry singer-songwriter was there. Old dude. I can't remember his name anyway.
Huh.
Um,
Wow.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's
after
cool.
that point was when I went, okay, I think I think I need to focus on recording, sound, theater,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
type of stuff. Because I didn't see that for the next, well, from here on in, I was not interested on going on the road. And
No, I get that.
you
I
know,
get that. Yeah.
I didn't want to miss I didn't want to miss the kids growing up, you know, so
And you got into managing Lorena McKennett's studio and kind of working
hmm.
for her for quite a
Yeah,
number of years. And
yeah,
after my touring ended in 2002, we only a couple of years after that we started. Oh, I got a home record. I got upgraded to a Roland digital studio, and then we got the bright idea to do file sharing over FTP, and we made a
yeah,
couple of records. So we made Emma Tabby, which is
yeah.
still one of our favorites, and we made Radium Luster a couple of years later. And so, which is kind of a forerunner to DB3 because we felt ourselves going from ambient and Eno and Daniel Lanois sounding things to sounding
More like what we do.
more like what we do. But also, I remember we had one tune that sounded like I thought it sounded like Anderson, Bruford,
Oh
Wakeman,
yeah,
Howe.
totally.
And
Yeah.
if anybody is trying to sound like Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe in 2005, that's probably a recipe for a disaster. But we did it anyway.
Yes, we
And
did.
we did a couple, and of course CD Baby had come, so we were then
Yeah,
getting our tunes out on iTunes,
yeah.
and then Spotify came later, and
And I remember when Amitabha came out and we were talking about having conversations saying what's going to happen with the music industry. And I was thinking, oh, I'm sure it's going to be like a subscription based kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
you know,
we could all see it coming.
we could all see it coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true because we did talk about that before it happened,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking to myself, and we talked about this, saying everything on a CD is zeros and ones, so they're going to eliminate the
They're going
physical
to, yeah.
thing, and it's just going to be a
Yeah.
file. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't think we were probably not the only ones.
I didn't think it was going to stream though.
Really, I did.
No.
I did. I remember saying that. I remember saying, everything is going to be up in the, and people thought I was crazy. I think somebody was making fun of me once because I said it's all going to be out there, and it's not going to be on your device. And somebody said, "What are
The
you
files are
talking
in the
about?"
computer.
Yeah, yeah, they're on the computer. And I said, no, it's going to be out there. And I didn't use the word the cloud. I didn't say that. I said, no,
No.
no, it's going to be out there, and you're
Yeah.
just going to have a receiver, and you're going to walk
Yeah.
around with it. And
Yeah.
that was several years before it happened. But again, I don't think that was particular. I don't think I read it somewhere. There just seemed to me the natural way things were going with the digital nature of things.
Yeah.
But what was I going to ask you about?
Oh, well, we were talking about file sharing.
Yeah, so we made those records, and then we oh, I know what I was thinking as I was talking about the couple of records that we made. You made a slew of records, in the starting in the 2000s, really, or later 2000s, and some of them were instrumental records, and some of them were vocal records, and the really, really, a couple are amazing, like in retrospect, especially My Father's Paintings, because
Oh, yeah.
steeped in your love of Elton John and things like that, and you're singing,
Hmm.
and they're very, very large, involved compositions and arrangements, and I thought that that's great, and it's nice that they're out there. I don't know how many there are. There must be, God, there must be
6, I
seven.
think. Yeah.
Okay, six, yeah.
Yeah.
And the instrumental ones are great. I think the best one is the distant flashing light one.
Yeah. That's the,
And what year was that? How long ago was that?
2022, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you've got a nice
2021 or 22.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got a nice catalog, and I think that around the time I started David Barrett Trio, 2010, I think we started
That's
recording.
right. Yeah.
You know, uh,
Right. You started in 10. Sorry. My Father's Paintings was 2012.
is that right?
Uh,
Eh?
yeah. 2012. So these were not that far. No, there were, you and I were doing records in the 2010s, and then I started doing more records in the 20 after that. So 2012 was My Father's Paintings, Crazy Ivan, and Static IP, two albums I did in 2015.
Wow. Yeah.
Then I did Hydrofield 2016, and then Distant Flashing Light was 2022.
Okay.
All at the same time that you and I did three albums.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think
COVID was a busy time for us.
COVID was my favorite time. No, I was just happy that I started doing master classes online. I figured out Zoom. I figured out broadcasting software. I mean, I did a lot of things I should have been doing. That's quite what I don't know. And we. I mean, I just wish I did it earlier. And you and I did the first. Well, we did. What was the first David Barrett Trio record? Was it Faces in the Stones?
Yes.
And then we,
This
and
is in
then
the
right,
stone.
then right
Yeah.
out, yeah, because you orchestrated stuff. I thought, how great would it be to have you orchestrate a DB3 record, and then,
But it didn't start as a DB3 record. It started as a one piece.
yeah,
Okay, so I was in Victoria and you called me and said, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking of doing this thing with Terry Brown so that we can have it as a discussion and a talking piece about sampled orchestra, digital orchestras."
yeah,
And just as I got back, I think a week after I got back, everything was shut down. It was like there were two cases in Vancouver when I was in Victoria.
wow,
And then we did the piece and then it turned into an album. And then
yeah,
every time we do an album, we never intend on doing an album.
yeah, yeah. Well,
We
that's
never
why I've been holding off for the next one, because I know when we get into it,
it's
it's
just
gonna go
gonna go.
fully
It's gonna
blown.
turn
Yeah.
into something because it always does.
Because right after Faces in the Stones, and again, for those of you who don't know Faces in the Stones, that's a record that we did some remakes of my compositions that were on previous albums, and a big long 10-minute one that was a new piece, Faces in the Stones, but the other ones,
Three parts, right?
yeah,
Four really.
four
Four or
parts. Yeah,
five.
and you orchestrated
Yeah.
one section.
Yeah.
But Elegant Universe was on David Barrett Trio 2, and that's the
That's
orchestral
right.
version. Turquoise was a
That's
lot of
right.
my listeners. That's one of their favorite pieces. That was a solo piece that you orchestrated. And then Dark Matter was on a record called Isolated Guitar that was really supposed to be the third David Barrett Trio record, but I just couldn't get
That's
it
right. And then we
finished.
redid it.
And we redid it. And one other one, but or maybe that's it. It's five anyway. And then right after that, we worked on what we'd been wanting to do, which is a much more steel guitar and retro sounding record, where you played a lot more bass
Hmm.
and did a little bit of orchestration, which was
But
great.
later.
but
I,
lighter.
except there were two tracks that no, there were two tracks that were pretty big in terms of
Oh yeah,
recording. Yeah,
totally, totally.
like
And
Battle of Tribulation,
yeah, which
which
was our
is
first song that we wrote together.
that's right.
And that's all big orchestral
Yeah,
stuff. And then we did "Sad Sad Day," which was a tune that we had
Trouble in Mind.
done with Trouble in Mind.
Yeah,
So we kind of covered the different eras, and I was really thrilled to do that. And then, not ironically, that's the wrong word. It's very fitting that I learned Malagueña at Nevu Music when I was about 15. So
yeah.
all this stuff from that era ended up finding its way onto this broadcaster album. It's really a favorite. But all our stuff, I know that Terry loves all of them, I think, but he really loved the grandness of, I'm using my word grandness, Terry, of Faces in the Stones, but the kitschiness and the
Oh yeah,
funness of Broadcaster, which is
yeah,
I think led to us doing Infinito, which is really our going right back to a trio, and having the good fortune of playing with Paul DeLong,
oh yeah.
which is kind of like a dream come true.
What a
You know,
unbelievable drummer.
yeah,
Yeah,
because it's for him to have played with Kim Mitchell and Dominic Triano and have Paul playing with us in the manner in which that he does is
yeah. Which is it's total absolute pedal to the metal.
just
You know.
it's just
Well, but
I don't even know
I think
what.
that's a credit to you, Dave, which is you're not telling him what you want. You're just saying,
No,
here, here's
I
a
wouldn't do
song.
that.
Do what you
Yeah.
want.
No, he's the greatest.
Right.
So, and he loves playing with you, which is great. So, we have
Yeah,
a really solid.
fantastic.
Now we're a little less active, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's worked out amazingly well, and we'll get a few gigs coming up. Oh, and we're doing a live album. So I want to get this live album out of the way, and then we'll do a couple more new tunes, so the live album can be longer, and
Yeah.
we'll put some really cool things in there, like the new version of Atom Smasher and things like that. That are
Yeah.
just sounding
Yeah.
completely rocking. So,
Yeah.
and I can't. And judging by Terry's live mixes of the stuff that we did to video, I just can't wait because that's going to be really, really
And
exciting.
I think that yeah, the whole live thing, to go sort of referencing back to 80s, you either went in performance and you went into recording. Well, then it came, since the 2010s, I'm going to say, is that really the live stuff just fell off the planet. And everyone with a laptop and every musician, and this is what I think is a bit of a sad thing, is that, so many new musicians, young or old, doesn't matter. There isn't the same there isn't the same opportunity and the culture to play music with people. It's coming back, but it's coming back very, very slowly. Now, I mean, like talking about going and playing with a country band or going to, learning how to play music with people without, you rely on your instincts and you rely on your listening history and all that kind of stuff. And you develop those skills and you develop those chops that become second nature on how to just play. But people who spend and learn and make music with in front of their computer all the time, whether even if they're just guitar players, that's fine. But they never get that ability to be able to they don't have that, they don't grow up or learn to get better by playing with people, which I think is too bad because then of kind of accomplished musicians could be thrown in a room with musicians and not know what to do.
Oh yeah, well we're lucky that we've. I think I was telling Terry or somebody that our generation is one of the last generations where there was a lot of venues to play, and where you did play all the time because they were there. Now it's harder. We don't have the same amount of venues or opportunities to play live, and I know that from my touring friends, we want to tour more, but even with the people with record deals and stuff, it's very, very expensive. So they're touring less, doing some festival dates that pay more in the summer. But in terms of, this concept of crossing the country in your
Yeah.
truck with the crew, is pretty much for a lot of people. It's just about breaking even, or
Yeah.
and these are successful, moderately successful bands. It's
Yeah. I
very
mean, it
very
used to be the
difficult.
punk band could do that and they
Yeah,
could actually make a living. I
yeah,
mean, a paltry one, but make a living. You could
yeah.
actually do the rock and roll tour thing in a van.
But that's okay. There's other avenues now. There's live broadcasts, there's
That's right.
podcasts, there's
Yeah.
crowdfunding, and there's records, and there's all the stuff that we're doing. And we've come a long way from stealing Christmas lights and floodlights
Yeah.
and rocking out
Yeah.
in Scarborough
Yeah.
to working with Paul DeLong and having Terry Brown produce us.
Absolutely.
And working with Terry has been a real life-changing thing for me before you came along, because I really saw what it was like to work with a dedicated producer that was really invested in whatever my vision was, and then for you to come along in uh, into that was like coming full circle, because I was working with somebody that really understood what I did, but also understanding music in general. And having
Hmm.
Paul come into that circle was like, just, well, this is complete. This is the most fun, amazing thing
Yeah, it is. It's so
we,
much
we could
fun.
we could ever have. So
Yeah.
when we
And it comes
record,
very simply too.
it
It
really
comes very
does.
easily.
But when we get the chance to play, and it's just a joy, and it's the same thing with recording. When we get a chance to work and record, yeah, some things take a little bit of time. Some things take no time at all. But the end result is just so, for me, so exciting that it's nice to see that we have a small
Yeah. Dedicated.
listenership
Yeah.
of crazy people
Yeah.
that really like what we do,
Yeah.
and support and fund. And so, big thank you to them.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. A lot of people don't have that. They
No, they
don't.
don't.
They're kind of twisting in the wind, and they don't have a little team of like-minded people. And I know that I've gone a long time, periods of time where I didn't either.
Yeah.
So to have that now is really really amazing. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so what's up for you in the next little bit, other than working on the next live David Barrett Trio record? Before we go.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Well, you got a
thinking
bass record. Are
I'm
you
gonna
thinking of?
yeah, I'm gonna yeah, and I'm kind of playing around with the idea. Um yeah, I want to do a bass record. I don't want it, but I'm just do I want everything to do I want all instruments but drums to be bass? I don't know yet. That might be sort of a little bit overwrought, you know.
Well, wait till you hit record. You'll know.
Wait till
You'll
I
figure
hit
it.
record.
Yeah.
But I do want to do something. Yeah, I want to do something different, different from the things I've done in the past. Um, Either sparser, cleaner,
Right.
um,
Avoiding the
a little bit
temptation
more.
to overdub too much.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't really want to do too much of that. I want to be able to. Um, it's like, could I do? I've got some ideas where I'd like to just do some strings with a fretless
Mm.
stuff, or things where it's just a simple rhythm track with a bass track and maybe a little bits here and there, but try some sparser type of things,
Maybe
where
with the London Philharmonic Orchestra.
maybe, yeah, sure. Again, I don't really want to make it a big, huge thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, kind of a bass record, but probably a quieter one.
Well, I think you should do it. And you know what it's like. As soon as you get started, it starts to take shape. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of trusting that it will take its own shape and that it'll develop its own inertia as things do,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I think that leads us to the conclusion of episode 2 of
Yeah, cool.
Scarberian Ketru.
I love
Yeah,
the
man.
title, Siberian, Scarberian. Yes.
I came up with that all by myself.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Okay, thanks.